Okay, thank you, David. We'll call this meeting of the Technology Committee to order and start with a motion for Tony's remote attendance. I move that Tony Townsend's request to attend today's meeting of the JMRL board remotely due to a temporary or permanent disability or other medical condition that prevents the physical attendance be approved.
You already know.
Yeah. Oh, right. I'm sorry. I'm waiting for this. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Tony. Let's see. This one we can do the second time. All right. Let's see the agenda. We were going to start with the launch plan.
Yeah. Sarah put together a nice little presentation that I will start, but likely the bulk of the information will come from Sarah and Kayla. So we're going to go through a recap of what's been done, a little bit of information about a staff input survey that's going on right now, a scavenger hunt, and then the plan for public input and launch timeline. And then we're going to talk a bit about the 5-year plan and how this committee feeds into that. Okay, since May 2022, do you want me to read or you want to talk over what we're doing?
This is just a recap to it's been so long since we've covered where we were. It's been over a year and a half, and in that time I found that we needed to establish a new hosting vendor to establish things like backup recovery and future development infrastructure. We did that. We along with doing that, we were able to consolidate and upgrade several of the components to the website. So again, this is a bunch of stuff under the hood, which I mean, there are improvements that the staff certainly have noticed. MRBS was upgraded from version 1.1 to version 1.10. Trumba has been improved and increased, and the Hours app has also been upgraded. And we just made some real improvements with the server email DNS management. Our new vendor is managing the software updates for Drupal, which is a big thing. Drupal is not a just press the button sort of thing. There's a lot of coding in that, and they're doing. It includes also upgrades to server software stuff, so they're managing that. That was a big thing to implement and to negotiate and whatnot. In the past year, we had to do RFQ and all that good stuff. In the meantime, there have been improvements to data in terms of styling and design, lots of bug fixes, which are making great sort of things for the public to use, public and staff. And we've found lots of content holes that we've filled in the correct content, we've updated the content, just a lot of little things. So while the first point was being done, the second point was being worked on as well. And we've also had to be very cognizant of that when we upgrade to when beta becomes a real website, we still have an intranet that the staff use heavily that is in the old website structure that is slowly being migrated to a new intranet and will be housed a little differently for staff to share and use information, internal information. So all that's been going on for the past year and a half. Pieces and parts.
Just for some clarity, that MRBS is the meeting room booking software that staff uses that's publicly available. Trumba is the calendaring software that staff use for programming, and it populates the feed for the calendar and registration for events. The Hours app is something that that we built in-house that's just putting hours updates. Is that not right?
It manages a alerts banner for holidays and closures and puts the hours in the different places on the website there. So it automates maintaining our hours everywhere so they can display in several places.
Okay.
And what's the term of the contract with the new hosting vendor?
It is 5 year, or it's a, yeah.
Okay.
5 year, yeah.
And so
I think
that-
we're 1 year with 4 options.
Yeah, I think it's optional renewals every year, up to 5 years.
So we got beta to a point that we're very happy with it and ready to really make a final push. And the solution to get some buy-in and active involvement from staff is to make it fun. So we implemented a scavenger hunt. We sent out, I think it's a total of 16 items to find in the website, very particular ones. And they were, we did just an informal polling of staff about what do the public ask you the most for that you use the website for, or where do you direct the public to on the website the most? And there are some consistencies from all the staff members that I polled, and they fell into the 4 different categories, and then we had about 4 or 5 questions per category. Find Scottsville's hours, find Nelson's address, find how to mobile print, find the ILL interlibrary loan form, that kind of stuff. What that gave us is both, and we asked them to tell us where and how they found it. So give us some user experience feedback and rate the difficulty for them to gauge some quantitative feedback and to give suggestions. They have found the next slide kind of. So
Go ahead, I think there's a
No,
question.
I didn't realize the next slide is a continuation. Go ahead.
yeah, the next slide there are our results so far. So we have 3 more days left. I just sent a reminder. We had 38 responses so far. Well, yeah, we've had a few more since we made this slide. Out of this also 12 content corrections, 6 bugs, which I mean, I've been fixing this stuff as it's come in. And they've been very positive about some of the styling, the content organization. They have suggested improvements. It would be great to do this or something like that. So this is really making them use the site. We're really proud. So we're seeing some being on it. Overall, it's been very positive. For the quantitative response, I felt a lot better to hear that no one thought anything was more difficult than a little bit over a 2 in a scale of 1 to 5. And that is finding a certain form that's very particular for programming. And the other one is, the other high one is mobile printing. And so those are action items that we can prioritize to improve the user experience. But overall, it's been very positive. And what this does is when we launch beta to the regular site and patrons ask for information, the staff will know where it is. They've already had to find it. So it just kind of softens that shock. So it was a double win.
Question, like,
Yeah, so this is great, and it's great feedback, and I love the practical aspects of having the staff pre-familiarized. Most of what I'm seeing here is really focusing on functionality. Is that, what is the functionality our users need? How do they do X? How hard is it to do X? And I do see some things in qualitative, but did you ask kind of explicitly about overall impressions? We've been talking about this trade-off of functionality,
form and function. Yeah.
form and function. So I see a lot of function here, but did you ask kind of about form? Because one of our sort of website policy goals was, conveying impressions, and we spoke about that. So was there a question, hey, what is your overall impression before you even dig in? When you visit the site, what are some words you think of? What are some feelings or ideas, impressions that come to mind?
No, I did not explicitly ask that. We did ask for any feedback of final thoughts, feedbacks of what you think and feel about the site. But I mean, that's pretty broad.
Yeah,
I know what you're aiming for, but
I think I would observe at that point they've been primed to answer the catch-all in the framework of functionality. So you would be more likely to get that than sort of a 10,000 foot.
True,
view.
true.
Um,
I know for my goals, with staff, working with staff to serve patrons, functionality is priority. But I know we have talked about design and we have talked about impression, and actually, some of the improvements have been better pictures of something. One was better pictures of all the, staff represented, so managers and board members. Remember, you guys had,
Oh.
that was because of me.
Thomas, you owe us a picture too.
In fact,
Yeah.
one of the staff actually wrote, specifically, I love our branch page, but the picture of our branch manager makes me sad because it's so pixelated and fuzzy.
No names.
But actually, that was a point of feedback, and I thought, well, then we're making new pictures. So, Mike, I've been trying to be cognizant of improving those kind of impressions and improving some of the template, look and feel. We did make some changes to the homepage, and, there are still some more changes on the horizon once I, get some help with it, so. So the next step is, the June newsletter, which goes out roughly 1st or 2nd of June. Our PR person Jennifer's working on it. She will include a blurb at the top, and a link to a patron survey, which is a very simplified version. And that does ask, about what do you think of this new look and feel. It's more of an advertisement, and then what do you think of this look and feel, and then 3 questions of a scavenger hunt type nature. Just to, again, activate some involvement. In more of a note, more qualitative. And Mike, that's what we're trying to aim for, is more the public's feedback than the staff, because the staff have to serve the public.
Yeah, I think we'll take some time today to go through that and make sure that everybody's satisfied that we're asking the right things and we can still tweak at this point.
And I would also just say in the right order, because I'm very sensitive to what you read
mentioned
on the last
being
question,
planned,
puts you in a certain frame of mind for what you're about to do for the next question. So think about if you want general answers, you got to put those first.
Yeah, well,
Obviously.
let's finish this slide maybe and then look, and then we'll go through the survey.
And also in the past year and a half, actually early on, in December 2021, I consulted with another web development group, that's local here in town. It's been here forever. They've been under a couple different names like Category 4, and then now they're called Convoy. For some advice in terms of Drupal infrastructure, and now some design. We consulted them to also give us design, which we asked for another web development company a few years ago to give. And they did give us some feedback about some design cleanup to just improve the impression and feel, just some spacing and make it just look a little more polished. They also had improvements about accessibility for ease of reading and screen readers. And then they are assisting me with some of the more in-depth development programming stuff, some JavaScript and some PHP that is just a little bit over my skill set. And so we're fixing some of the things that, again, we've gotten staff feedback, like this really should work better. And I was like, yeah, that should work better. So they are assisting me in the next couple of weeks on some of that. And they are helping us with our we're going through that for the next couple of weeks and waiting for some patron feedback to come in. We actually get a lot of response when the newsletters go out. There's a lot of readership on that. So I'm hoping to really get a good chunk of something. And from that, Kayla and I will start a final list of tasks that need to be done for the launch. Do we have any pages we need to make sure we have redirects, any URLs redirects, links that we need to update on in other places to make sure that it's as smooth as possible. we've done some of that, but we just need to have a checklist, find a launch checklist to go through. And then, we aim to do it, mid-June or so, depending on how much, what the feedback is and if we find any.
Oh, no go, right? That's the-
Barriers.
Right.
That's a nutshell.
2 weeks or so.
Yeah.
I mean, June starts on tomorrow.
2 weeks, I mean, I'm meeting with, Convoy this week and probably next week. And,
I think just to prep, like one concern that I have that we've talked about that might be a potential problem has to do with DNS changes and being able to support things that are on the current site that we still need. You know, so if there was a problem, it would be there, and that we have to work with the third-party vendor to do, and that would be, you know.
That's our intranet.
Yeah, it's our intranet basically. So hopefully that would be days if there is some sort of delay, but like that I could see as being potentially a problem.
And I think we can actually maybe work some of that ahead of time. Too.
Good.
Yes, that's a go, no go deciding factor.
And so the survey's going out by the end of the week.
Yeah, we hope to aim to have the website, the newsletter out on Friday.
And then we have the survey live for a week or so, and that gives you a week to process and.
Yeah, we figured we might keep taking input as it comes. Via the survey and then we've always been trying to encourage both staff and patrons to email web manager, and that gets it on our radar for content for.
Okay.
It creates a ticket in our IT ticketing system for Sarah. All right, so this is the public view of it, right? Okay. All right, so website committee invites you to provide your thoughts and feedback. Soon to become the new face of JMRL.org. Seeing great services, collections, and resources available with a refreshed look and feel. Okay, so just to keep track of, you know, where we want things to be. First question is about how often do you use the site? You know, to get a gauge of who's using it, how often. What do you look for the most? This is still function, right? What library do you consider to be your home branch? Kind of give us a little qualitative data about who's responding and do a task force, find the hours. What suggestions do you have about that? Find the calendar of events, suggestions do you have? Find the digital library, suggestions or feedback do you have? What is your overall impression of the design? What aspects led you to this rating? Any final thoughts? Please leave us your name or email address if you'd like to be contacted. So I'm guessing, Mike, that you would be more interested in this type of feedback being earlier.
Yeah, otherwise they've been primed, is what I would.
Just put it first.
I think that could be first. Yeah.
And the homepage is where they're starting, so show.
Yeah.
Do you, Kayla, are you in the editing? Can you do that? Okay.
And just the what aspects I'd even be, you definitely need to narrow down, try to pin people down. Why are you saying this? But I'd be interested in a question be underneath, in between those two. That would be what are your general impressions come to mind? You know, just free form. Give me some words. And then final thoughts obviously stays fine.
Final thoughts to stay at the end.
Make sure that they're answering not about you, period, but about the next.
Yeah, that's
We're gonna get, I mean, that's gonna happen, period.
Yeah.
Because I think that
Yeah. You're right, that they would have to be super clear. I mean, I would say, I'll just throw it out there. In my experience doing product management and so forth, people don't know what they want. The very best is, it's good to ask, hey, what do you think? They're looking at data in front of them, so that's good. They have something to see. The very best is if you were, I know we're not doing A/B of a beta 1 and a beta 2, but you could say, hey, here's a comparable, visit that one. You know, maybe it's a side quest, or maybe it's at the end optional. You know, what are your what do you see about the approach here and what you like about this approach? And if there's something with a different, they took a different approach, what do you think and see and how do you compare and contrast? That would get you, and again, you can discuss later if that's just too in-depth for this, but I think that would get you the highest, and maybe there could also be a focus group type of thing, I think we talked about before. Where it's a smaller group, that maybe that's a question here. Would you volunteer or would you be interested in participating in a more in-depth interview type things? I mean, I know you talked about user interviews at one point. Just by putting the hook in here to get volunteers for that, you would have a handle on those potential folks for future use.
Maybe a last question.
Yeah, last question would you?
Are you willing to be part of the focus group?
Yeah, that sort of thing.
For the website improvements.
Yeah, and then that would actually, if you move forward, that would be a more probably appropriate place to do this kind of.
Yeah.
I was thinking what you're describing, that's to me more like focus group work. Yeah.
In user experience design, sometimes when you do these surveys, you just say, well, please provide a favorite website that you like the design of.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a broad thing that
It's too broad for.
you want to ask.
And also, I mean, with some users would probably have experience with other library websites, but not all.
Right, you would
users.
have to show them, here's
Right,
three.
yeah, here's three other library
tell me
websites.
what do you think? But
Hey, Liz, this
Not
gonna
on
go,
the
is it gonna go up to the very top,
Well, it's not very, but.
but it will be the very top.
We want that the first one, please visit beta.jm.
Yeah, I think that and then the follow-up question there.
We're asking just two questions about how often and what they look for, and then we ask specifically about data. I think we need the.
Oh, this is about, these are about,
That's demographic.
this is not about beta, they're about,
Yes, what are you looking for current? That's why I love. Yeah, that's why I love those, and what we talked about is we could cut down that first one to be a little more.
yeah, I don't think we need that level of, like, what are we gonna do with that, basically? I think we just want to know, like, do you use it? Are you a power user? Do you use it every once in a while? Do you never use it?
Pretty much. So if we cut that down and then we just want to know
Okay.
what our audience, what kind of audience they are.
if you just cut the two to 4 times and once a year, I think that might be a
So monthly.
daily, weekly, monthly on this now.
Yeah, that sounds good. And then visit this and tell us about design impression of the, yeah, do you want to say design or do you want to say look and feel? Because that's usually how people describe design, is the look and feel.
I mean, it's true design might mean.
Different things to different
It's
people.
engineered in a functional. Right,
So what do we ask?
I mean, I think you kind of want both,
Graphic
but
design.
you're right, if you just put that word, you don't know which you're responding to necessarily. Yeah, so pick which one you want.
I like look and feel.
Look and feel is more common.
How professional is vibes?
You know, past that, we can be kind of fun with this. You know,
Yeah, let's not get too much.
Please describe the vibes you feel like.
Please rate the vibes on a scale of. I'm more concerned about the follow-up question to try to capture some of what Mike was saying. And I do think that,
You could probably combine it.
well, I think this is just to give us follow-up, so give us a number and then give us,
Because. I mean, is that the only page that we're concerned about, the design? The look and feel?
I mean, to me, it's a 80-20 for sure, but that's.
I think
Yeah.
what I would say is take out homepage and put beta.jmrl.org, which is gonna link to the homepage, but if they have thoughts about the rest of the site, it would be included, but that's where they're gonna be looking.
That's what I would say. I think you just include the link on, as a user here, I would interpret that to mean like, browse the whole site and then the feedback on that.
I guess I'm a little caught up, and we're probably overthinking this, but I'm a little caught up on aspects.
Mhm.
What about? Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
listen.
Yeah, sure. Actually, I think that's an
But
improvement.
is it homepage design or just
What
wetland?
specifically?
What specifically about beta.jmrl.org led to this rating?
I was gonna suggest opposite the new homepage design. Either one.
What specifically about the new,
Website design.
Website design.
I did like getting the URL in there, but I guess we're splashing it all. Kayla you did a good job of making sure they knew which site they were looking at, because I'm not looking for a ton of feedback on Classic at this point, just because we're taking it out to pasture.
Still visited.
Well, I think we're still gonna be visiting it for a little while. Like, we also need to talk internally about how long to continue to support. You know, obviously, we need to keep the old server for intranet until we have a permanent solution. It's intranet is moved over? Okay, so we're ready to pull a plug.
Oh, very.
Oh, you mean Classic is already on? That's right. Okay, thank you. Thank you for clarifying. That's great. This is just me worried about money.
We consolidated.
All right, sorry, I sidetracked us, yeah. And do we say look and feel
Yes. Instead of,
instead of design?
They put will it in the question,
yeah.
so I think that.
Uh,
It does work
the
as
one-
is.
Okay, that's fine, yeah, you can leave it, Kayla, that's good.
Now, I'm not sure if I missed it. Is there a question on here that asks you to contrast the beta with the old website?
One second.
Yeah, the answer is no.
Well,
Like,
I think, yeah, Michael, if we could fish, I think we could fish for compliments that way, and somebody be like, oh, it's much easier to read.
I suppose that comes in the general.
Yeah, right.
But
Actually, I will not be surprised that we will have users that will prefer just what they are used to and have used for now 15 years, you know?
some of the staff have, in the scavenger have mentioned, I like Classic only because I know where it is.
I know where everything is, yeah.
And we do have Classic love reason because patrons
Yeah.
still speak to, we have a swath of patrons, an audience that prefer that experience, so.
And that's and the catalog is a whole other can of worms, but the Classic one, it's going to exist no matter what. We need it. It's the underpinnings for the overlay on top of it. So it doesn't hurt us to keep it up because we have to keep it up. Basically, it's just a database interface. Okay, so further thoughts on this before you see it in the. And is Jennifer aware that we need space for this?
I will follow up to double check.
Okay,
We've talked about this.
Okay, great. Mike's got,
Can I suggest one other wording that?
Yeah.
You scroll down about two more. How about, this will capture some of the discussion. What specifically about the new website design led to this rating, question mark? What are your overall impressions? And then they're primed to be talking about the design and we're getting more.
sure.
Right, and then I'll let it go.
Go ahead, Kayla.
Oh, no, and then there is like a. thoughts
Yeah, overall.
Yeah,
Section.
and that's where we're gonna hear,
Right.
I like the old website. Okay, and the other piece we wanted was some sort of like in that. There's a contact question at the end.
Go, yeah. Scavenger part, and then final thoughts. No, maybe.
Oh, right, would you be interested in participating in a focus group?
But how
And
about
then-
about your feedback for focus group participation, just to be,
Great.
In the last one,
just to
Okay, great.
reinforce that if you want to do it, we need to know who you are.
and then we gotta let it go, or else I'll do this all day. Any final thoughts at the top about JMRL's new website? Not the new website,
Yes,
not that people will know, but just to.
no, it's very. I'll throw another link to the.
This is.
Just in case, we're still talking about, okay, so looking back kind of at that time frame, we are looking at somewhere within the next 4 weeks or so for launching, for basically for us, it's making the DNS switch so that jmrl.org points towards beta.jmrl.org. And the old site will be jmrl.org/classic or something like that. Yeah. Classic dot
They're subdomains, so classic dot.
jmrl.org.
Yeah.
And we will keep that up for a while, but likely it will not get the full updates that are coming for the website. Yeah, no longer updated. I think if something dramatic happened, I might ask you to put it in 2 places just in case, like. Thoughts, Tony?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a big fan of the new website since the first days of the beta. And I think that the survey is good. Like all surveys, it's loaded because people who have an axe to grind will fill it out, and people who think it's wonderful will fill it out. And the vast majority of folks will just say, and then complain later that why'd you change things? I knew everything was. So I mean, it's a no-win situation, but I think it's as good as we can hope for.
I think that we're under no impression that the work is done when that switch is made, when that DNS switch is made.
Right.
Then it's a lifetime of tweaks to this design until it's time for a redesign in
Right. It's
3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
3
Yeah,
to 5.
we should get started on the next design now, so we're ready,
You, Johnny.
All right, so questions from the technology committee about getting feedback at this point, the time frame for making that DNS switch, messaging, anything that you want known or heard or discussed.
For you, I think I'm pretty satisfied.
The big milestone, exciting.
This is a long time.
I think there's, as you get some of the photography, I know you're working
Yeah.
on, there might be some
And
design stuff, but this is such an improvement over what we have. I think
Agreed.
we're ready. I'm ready.
yeah, let's
I
do
know
it.
you all are to lock it in and then
Let's do it.
take a deep breath and then see what improvements, are possible.
Thomas, I was mostly kidding about your photograph because we'll get your replacement on there. And that reminds me that I haven't seen those pictures.
Oh, that's right, I need that content.
Well, we only got 6 board members, I think. So I've got a few board members still to catch, and then we've got all the managers to catch too. And then the photographer and I are talking about the bigger project for the building pictures as well. Okay, so if we're ready to move on, then the last thing to discuss for this committee just is a little bit of an update on strategic planning process. So it's kind of a reminder here, and then also a discussion about where this kind of dovetails. So Kayla and I are on the 5-year plan committee, and Tony is on the 5-year plan committee. So the 3 of us have been involved in these conversations. That Meredith is the chair, Meredith Cole, that has convened, has been meeting. It is due by the beginning of July next year. That's when we have to be under our new strategic plan, July 1, 2024. One of the broad goals that JMRL has traditionally had has been technology. There's been a very broad goal there, and we used to do separate 3-year plans that rolled in there that this group worked hard on last year and the year before, and streamline those a little bit to make sure that the strategic plan had broad board level goals, and that we had a separate staff action plan that was, here are the steps that we need to take in order for the board to meet their vision there. And in fact, we love that model so much that that's the model we're using for every other goal and objective in the strategic plan. So there is a subcommittee of that group, which is focused on technology and facilities. And the leader of that cohort is Kayla. So that group has met once, we'll meet again, and then provide some sample suggested goals to the 5-year plan committee. There's a feeder group for that, which is the Staff Technology Advisory Committee, which Kayla is also the chair of, and both Michael and Sarah are on that.
These are just you and.
Yeah. So these groups are very staff focused, and they know the things that we're currently working on that we'd like to see played out, and then the things that are kind of on the horizon for the public libraries as a whole, like when are we, the joke I keep making is replacing the director with Chat GPT, which could be any day now. So, they'll be talking about those things, and then they'll bring them back to this group basically to say, hey, here's kind of here are the things that we are planning on working on in the next few years, and here's how we see them as part of an overall system goal. But then what are the other goals that the board needs to be concerned about? And this group will be the kind of the feeder or the voice for the board there. Okay, so if there's input at this point from the technology committee, like, hey, we want to make sure that these kind of other groups are talking about X, Y, or Z, we can either talk about it now, or you can also shoot me emails. So AI is clearly something like that, but also just general goals are going to be about providing new technologies to the public to give them a chance to interact with them. Like we see that as the role of the library now, whether that's with our own tech or somebody else's. Michael's working on things in the lab here where people will be able to come in and see kind of, for us, cutting edge digital technology. What's the finger cutter offer called? Yeah, the Glow Forge. Yeah, it's like
There's several devices.
some things we're working on adding to the space in the lab here that would give the public a chance to interact with technologies that they wouldn't otherwise maybe get to see in their daily life. So that's kind of one. Yes, exactly. Everybody will sign lots of things. Anyway, I wanted to discuss that because that is a lot of different moving pieces over the next year to get that there. And I know that this committee really did a lot of the work along with the Staff Technology Advisory Committee to get the current plan where it is. And we were very happy with that. So I want to see that moving forward as well.
So am I hearing there's the process is changing and there's not going to be a more frequent technology plan? We used to essentially have the 5-year plan and then sort of this, as you mentioned, the sub 3-year
plans. Yeah, I don't think any decisions have been made about the timing of those. That had been for years. It was 2 3-year plans per the 5-year plan. I think it depends on where we land on the board level goals. Like if those are broad enough to encompass a 5-year stretch, then maybe they get left alone. But if they are specifically like, here's what needs to be accomplished in the next few years, then maybe we would need to continue to revisit throughout. I hadn't really thought about it in those terms, but yeah. Kayla?
I could see the benefit of the smaller time frame
yeah.
for it, but it also, like you said, depends on what we want for like more larger folks. Like, what's the board level versus what is the staff level detail?
Yeah.
I did like where we landed, and I'll be interested to see when you say 5-year plan is adopting this model. I mean, there's a staff action plan that used to be
the plan itself, right?
I kind of agree that was kind of too much, but we did keep or made sure to put into the high level goals. Well, here's a few highlight specifics,
or such as.
Yeah, so such as.
Yeah.
But I think there's a balance to be struck there where there's some specificity being communicated.
I think that's the lesson I took away from that process.
And to that extent that you're talking about a couple of specific highlights or such as those
that might need more frequent.
Yeah, so maybe I mean, I do observe that 3 does not go evenly into 5, but so maybe it's
the middle year was a squishy year.
Right. So well, maybe it's a mid 5-year review or revamp.
Our strategic planning in general, one of my personal beliefs had always been that it should be a living document that every year gets reviewed by the full board and gets looked at. And the last few years, there hasn't really been the time set aside for that. But, I could see moving forward a couple different bodies being involved in a more frequent revision or review at least.
Sure.
So that could be the strategic planning committee or this group here.
And this is more of a 5-year, but it falls into technology as well. I think I'd like to see us do more of not only reviewing, looking forward, but kind of assessing, hey, here's what happened, and sort of if X, Y, and Z didn't happen, why was that? And with an eye towards how do we make a better plan and a smarter plan next time?
Yeah.
Not as much of a corrective type of thing, but I don't think we do as much of that as I would like to see, is reviewing kind of in stream, outcomes and results. So, to me, that would be like kind of a 1-year process at a 5-year level, and then technology sort of have been
Yeah.
sort of doing that. And I think, so there's a question, if that is a useful exercise, the question would be, does that happen for the technology section through the technology committee, or does it happen through a technology subcommittee of the 5-year plan? I don't know.
Yeah, that's good feedback and a good question. And my guess would be that the 5-year plan committee would be happy to hand that over
Right.
to the
At some
technology
point, then my question becomes, what's the purpose of
of the technology committee if they're not doing it.
technology
Yeah,
board committee?
yeah,
Uh,
I hear that.
So that would be maybe next time this committee meets, that can be, one of the top questions is what's our purpose, in light of
Yeah.
how the 5-year plan is operating. And what's the point, and what are the useful things? What are the things that it's useful to convene a separate subgroup for?
Okay, well, I think it would be, well, we're gonna have a new chair,
Right.
clearly,
Yeah, that'll
because
be Tony.
Thomas is stepping off the full board. But I was kind of envisioning a meeting late summer, early fall to review at that point. Presumably, we would have some stuff for the 5-year plan to talk about, like, here are some things that we've gotten out of this process and where does this group feel? And that seems like a good time for that overall conversation about, like, what should this group be
We could
doing?
also discuss what the
And
result, the outcomes
where
of this
we are, the
feedback
outcomes from
process
this
and
feedback process, and
decision of, given what we learned, what
do we need to
what,
do?
what does it make sense to,
So does that time frame sound reasonable, like September-ish, August, September? I'm not looking at a calendar yet, but that makes sense to me. I think, oops, adjournment. That's not up to us.
Well, if there is no other business and nothing else to say, then I'll go ahead and adjourn. When you've got something-
Thomas, appreciate your time as chair.
Well, thank
of
you,
the board.
everybody, for-
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Tony. Take care.
You guys.